Hi, today we're showing this new product to our range, the CA15 scope meter. It's a single channel oscilloscope with a built-in multimeter. The CA15 comes as standard with main base unit, heavy duty carry case, main scope leads, two lithium ion batteries with a mains charger, two back probes, and a Pearson probe. So as we said, it comes with a multimeter, so volts DC with min-max display, ohms, short circuit test, frequency measurement, again with min-max display, duty cycle, active time, ignition dwell amps, and amps you use in conjunction with a clip-on amp meter, which is an option. Then in here you have the standard scope. So in here you have general signal, so this is where you can go in and if you want to do the setup yourself, so you set the voltage scale, time base, trigger, etc. by yourself, so you choose either AC or DC. And this is some sensors and components, then some presets they have saved on the scope. So for O2 sensor, crankshaft sensor, camshaft sensor, petrol injection systems, throttle position, idle air control, temperature sensors, intake air temperature sensors, ignition trigger signal, airflow meter, both digital and analog. And for the sensors and components, there can be more presets saved added to this later on, as this unit is fully updatable via the internet, and we will also be doing some explanations and pictures on how to set it up for checking diesel components like common rail injector, rail pressure sensor, and a few other bits like that. Here then we have charging system, so check charge and voltage, the ripple test, ignition system, ignition primary, so you choose the type, ignition secondary. For the ignition secondary, for checking the coil, ignition coils, the secondary waveform for coil unplug and other types of coils, there's an optional add-on for this IGM1, the ignition tester. We'll be showing this in a later video. In here then you just have setup. This is where we can change various settings. So ignition type setting, again you pick the type of ignition system, the trigger types, if you want to set it for rising or falling, you do this in this part of it. All other trigger settings are done in the oscilloscope screen. Sleep mode, so you can set how long, that if the unit has not been used, how long it will take before it will go to sleep to save the battery. Voltage measure type, so you can set it to measure maximum voltage or peak to peak. And this is just about the software version. Like we said, there'll be various updates on this, adding new presets and new functions. And so now, back in a second, we'll just connect it up to the car and show it working, measuring some sensors and actuators. Now we have it connected up to the car, and I'm just going to go in and check the injector signal. Connected to a 2004 Astra 1.4 petrol scope, so we can go sensors and components, injection system, And we have different options here. We'll just go into injection, waveform, analog. Just go to the injector. So that would be our 12 volt supply to the injector. Go to the other one. It's our injector signal. And if we want to see, to zoom in a bit more on the signal, to go lower on the time base. And again, the trigger and everything is preset for us, but we wanted to change the trigger if the signal wasn't stable. Just go in here, move the trigger. And also then we have cursors here, 1 and 2, so you can choose which cursor you want. So move number 2. So here then we can see the injector on time. Now if we wanted to change the trigger level, go up and down here, or if we want to check the position on the screen, go over here. So now we just go in and check the O2 sensor. We're already connected here. So again, the voltage scale and time base already set up for you. If you want to tweak it to look at it. If you want to see more or less, vary the time base. Now we're just going to check the camshaft position sensor signal for each different scope, sensors and components, because we have a preset for this. Camshaft, engine start and running. Then we just connect it up to the signal wire. And then you see how the scale, we can adjust the scale manually, but the scale can also automatically adjust. For example, if we set it too low, the scale jumps back up by itself. So say we'll just go too low again on the scale, go down to 3 volts, go and flick back up to 6 volts, and the signal is reaching 5 volts. And then we can adjust the time base if we want to zoom in or out on the signal. If we want, then we can set up the trigger on it as well to get it more stable display on the screen. Another thing we'll check there is the ignition primary signal. For ignition system, ignition primary waveform. We're connected up. I'd say our voltage scale, again it's preset for us, but our voltage scale is a little bit on the low side, so we can adjust it up there a bit. And again, we can change the time base to get a better picture of the signal. And also the trigger is automatically preset for us, but if we want to tweak the trigger a bit, we just press here. So you see the red line and the purple line is for adjusting the trigger. This is for the trigger level, up and down. And the other one then is for moving the position of the waveform on the screen. So you move it across, see the signal has gone more to the right. Again, the trigger is very simple to set up on it. The rising and falling adjustment on the scope is done in a different area in the setup screen. So now we're connected up to a 2005 feet Scudo diesel, 1.9 common rail engine, and we're connected to the rail pressure sensor. So we'll just go into general signal DC and adjust our scale, because it's going to be a lot lower scale than that. Now the key is on, so we have about half a volt. This is normal from the Bosch rail pressure sensors. Can you start it there? Stop it again. Sorry, just change the time base a bit so we can see what's happening with the rail pressure when it's cranking or on startup. Yeah. So if 0 volts, just switch on the key first. Key on with half a volt. Okay, try start. As you can see then it peaked up to 1.5 volts and the engine fired up, and then we're running at about 1.45 volts at height. So this is a good rail pressure sensor signal. Again, this is very useful for non-start situations. We can have a clear idea of the rail pressure on cranking and startup. So now we're checking the common signal to the common rail injectors, Bosch type injector. We're using an amps clamp. This is set up, the setting on the amps clamp, converting from volts to amps. And here you can see our injector signal. So you have the and main injection. Again, useful for a non-start situation. You can quickly check, see if you're getting a signal to the injector. It's displaying in volts, but if conversion, you'll have to just do the conversion with the amps clamp to work out the amps amount. So that's about it on the CA15 scope meter for now. As you can see, you can test many different sensors and components very quickly and easily with this. Keep an eye on our YouTube channel for other videos about this.